Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. Great to see you again. Well, today we've got another new manufacturer which I haven't done a review on for some considerable time. Not a new manufacturer, but a different one from my normal Matchbox and Airfix and Tamiya and stuff. However, any of you that follow my vids and saw the ones that I did around the time that we would have had Telford in November, you'll have seen the good, the bad and the ugly of models that I built. I'm afraid that one of the ugly, which you wouldn't really have expected, was an Eduard kit. And I say that because I had a terrible time with it. It was the Mirage 3C and it was not a nice kit at all. I won't repeat all the comments I made, but it was awful. It was beautiful in the box, looked really scale-like and detailed and all the rest of it, but it just didn't go together well at all. It was awful. Gaps, warped, you name it, it was all there. Anyway, so I have to be honest, this has not really made Eduard my favourite manufacturer of choice, and I understand that they've had some recent issues again with the Hawker Tempest. A lot of people have been having trouble with the wings, and there's quite a lot of modifications needed and a lot of sanding and filling and anyway, that's not my cup of tea. I think life's too short for that. I think I've gone past the stage where I want to carve something out for myself and, you know, recreate something and basically rebuild something the manufacturer didn't do properly in the first place. Okay, anyway, I keep an open mind. Now we have one here from Eduard, so Luftwaffe fans, this is your moment to have a bit of enjoyment. So we've got the FW190 A4, and it's not a new kit. It's actually the artwork. I don't think it's very inspiring, if I'm honest. And this has been out for I think 5 or 6 years at least. So it's not new. And I think they may have actually redone the artwork on this recently. So you may not recognise it, or some of you will nod and yeah, you've probably seen this one before. But it's not the prettiest artwork, I have to say, but that shouldn't put us off too much. On the side, we've got some good choices. One thing that Eduard are very good at, apart from their photo etch and all that enhancements that they do, they're very good at giving you a variety of decals. And we've got a whole heap of them here. We've got a FW190 that's based in France. Sorry, a bit of reflection there. We've got one here that's in Tunis in North Africa. We've got another one in France, and that's 1943. Then we've got one in the Soviet Union, March 1943. And then another Soviet Union, and that just says early 1943. So you've got a good choice there. So obviously there's going to be a good variety of schemes and variety of decals. And speaking of decals, we need to talk about decals and Eduard. Recently, in the last couple of months, since about September, I think they issued for the Battle of Britain anniversary the few several special reissues, ME109 E4 I think it was, and the Mark 1 Spitfire, and they came in packs of 2, and they came with beautiful artwork, much nicer than this. And everybody was raving about them until they got to the point of putting the decals on, and they've issued new decals, a completely new technology, you might say. But they have the release film on the face, but they don't tell anybody this, and it wasn't made clear. There was nothing in the instructions about how to do it, and this has caused a bit of uproar in the modelling world because people are just finding they can't get the decals down. It's making a mess of the paintwork. Basically, it's a bit of a hash up. You know, why Eduard would change something so fundamentally and not tell anybody is beyond me. But anyway, we're not going to bash Eduard. They do make some beautiful plastic. My issue with them is that things like that, they do some daft decisions, and they don't seem, I think, to always properly do the final testing of the kits and actually building them. But we'll see. Anyway, let's have a look at this one. Nothing much else on the box apart from more box art. Let's have a look inside. Now, I have got some extras, I think, in here, mainly in the shape of I've got an itchy nose, in the shape of a magazine, which I'll very quickly show you. Model Airplane International, and we get some great writers and models in here. But this was very interesting because it's talking about Armin Faber's gift. Now, Armin Faber, it's quite a funny story actually. He was a bit of an ace pilot actually, and he's got Spitfire in here as well. Hang on a second. Whose is this? Eduard Spitfire Mark 9's in here as well, so quite a good addition. Anyway, Armin Faber was a German fighter ace, and basically he was involved in an action over the English Channel, somewhere I think towards sort of Weymouth, Dorset sort of area. And as the light was going down, he was in a battle with a couple of Spitfires, I think they were Mark 9s actually, so very similar to the contents of the mag. Anyway, long story short, apparently in this combat, which went on and on and on with a couple of Spitfires, he got a little bit disorientated and started to realise he was running out of fuel. And basically he crossed the water, back across the water, and then he just had to land because he was just running on vapours in his Fokker 190. And he came into land, and he landed actually at an airfield, an RAF airfield in South Wales. He'd actually crossed the Bristol Channel and got confused thinking it was the English Channel. And he didn't know this, and he actually landed and jumped out, was immediately arrested on the spot with a gun to his head. And they call it Armin Faber's gift because this was the first 190 that had been captured in any sort of half-decent condition. It was completely intact. So the RAF were then able to pour over this, and the Air Ministry were all over it, you know. And we knew exactly this is in I think mid-41, 1941, and then, you know, basically we suddenly had a prized possession of the latest fighter from the Luftwaffe. Anyway, there's a great article in here about it, and also talking about the all the options you can get, and I've got to say there's two different versions. They're both absolutely beautiful. So there's an A4, and I think it's the first one, the A8. Yeah, it's got the Armin Faber story here. Actually, it tells you there. It was actually June 42, so it had been in service for about 9 months by that time. So yeah, it's a little bit later than I thought, but yeah. So they captured this thing for evaluation, and then the RAF had it, you know, their grubby mitts all over it. And before you knew it, the Tempest was born, you know, to take it on. But that's a story for another day. Anyway, it's a really good magazine. It really goes through the sort of build in great depth, and it shows I like that when they show every step, you know. It really does help you to see the whole evolution of the build. So anyway, a good magazine if you want to have one of these. Let's have a look what we've got in the box. Now this is the Profipack, so this should come with a bit of photos. Yes, it does. Here we go. So when they say Profipack, it's not the weekend edition, the short version. It's the one that's got masks in it, and it's got a little bit of photo etch in it. And we'll just pop our box over here. A new patented way of doing it. There we go. Right, let's have a look then. What we got. Now bear in mind, I'm fully expecting this to be beautiful and impressive. That doesn't mean it's going to go together. But who knows? I'm sure that some of you watching this video will say, I built it, it's absolutely fine. And others might say, oh, it's awful. I think it depends on how skilled you are and how much patience you've got sometimes. Right, here we go then. Oh, it's nice. So we've got this. This is what Eduard really are good at, isn't it? These little zoom sets where you get all the instrumentation and all the instruments and the frets and the bezels and little controls, levers. It's also got the, you can see that, it's got the seat belts here. They're very, very nice. That's excellent. Yeah, that's good. Good start. Then there's a rather boring, just the mask for the, canopy mask. Fairly straightforward. And then we've got some decals. Now these are not these problem ones I've not talked about just a few minutes ago. This is your traditional ones. There's also the option of making up swastikas. You've got, interestingly, they've actually got swastikas, which is a bit of a no-no sometimes, you know. We know that Airfix are, they're hopeless. They won't put them in there at all in any form. But you need to, because that's the way the aircraft looked. So let's not revise history to modern politics. Let's just have it exactly as it was in the day. I'm not going to get this out, but the markings here, I've got stencils on a separate sheet on the back. And they are going to be fine. These are the good old Eduard markings, decals. No issues with them. That's not going to give you any of these recent troubles. Well, let's have a looky. Right, I think we'll start with the old instructions. Let's have a look. So we get a nice shiny instruction leaflet. Now I personally don't always get on with Eduard's instructions. I find them a little bit busy, a little bit confusing. So it starts nice and clear on this side. It's got the the sprue tree showing which ones you're going to use and which ones you are not going to use, and there's quite a lot you're not going to use. Heck of a lot, actually. Wow, that's like half the kit blued out. Yeah. Parts not used in blue. That's 50% of it. Gosh. Anyway, so you're making up, typical thing. You're going to make up all the cockpit, and actually this looks nice. In fairness, lots of PE. Those PE panels we've just seen. Plenty of detail. Making the tub up, and then the sliding mechanism at the back behind the canopy. Then we've got bringing in the instrumentation, bringing in your pedals. You've got toe straps, you've got the seat, safety belts. Ah, that looks nice. Looks really good, actually. On this side, more PEs. A lot of PE work. Now, those of you who are not familiar with using photo etch or PE, shouldn't call it PE because PE is actually polyethylene, which is just confusing. I think they should have found a different terminology because it's technically not correct. But anyway, photo etch. You're going to need to use cyanoacrylate or superglue because that's the only thing that's really going to stick it effectively. You can use PVA that you use for canopies, but it's very, it doesn't glue quickly. You have to wait for it to dry, and it's a bit rubbery and messy. I have a problem with superglue because it makes me allergic, so I try and use as little as possible. I tend to use a combination, actually. Anyway. Then we've got you're making up your engine at the front here, and then you're bringing that together. The two halves of the canopy come in with all these final bits of instrumentation and those cockpit sides, all brought in and then clamped together by the fuselage sides. Then we've got the wings, a little bit of painting on the wheel well, it's visible in the wings. Wings upper, and then we've got the cowling here with the cannon, two cannons, and the exhaust going into the cowling as well. Then you're working on the lower wing, and here we're putting in the spar and the recesses for the wheel well in here. And then you're putting in all these wheel well fitments and braces and bulkheads that go in to strengthen the wheel bay, and then finally you're bringing the two wings together, top and bottom. Then you join it, mate it up with the fuselage, and then you start building the tail planes and the rudder, bringing them in, and the cowling rings at the front, they're going to go on. Building up your undercarriage. Just looking at the images, I think, yeah, it looks good. It does look good. I think this is going to be a nice kit. I just hope it goes together properly. I don't think there's going to be any problem with detail or finesse. It's the lack of finesse that Eduard seemed to suffer is in the actual final construction. They just need to do a bit more testing before they release the model, I think. Now then, undercarriage goes into the wheel wells with the gear doors on, and of course the 190 has got this very splayed legged stance which makes it very recognisable. And then underneath you're putting in your little ladder and your cannons going on the wing, pitot head, the doors, the gear doors, the small ones that close in go in, and your tail wheel of course goes in here as well. Then you're building up your spinner and propeller, and then the canopy and the armour plating that goes behind the pilot's head there. Open canopy or closed canopy, you've got two options. I think, we'll see in a minute, but I think the closed canopy is all one piece. It's certainly different anyway. And then it just shows you the correct alignment and the way that it should sit. And then you get closed canopy option. I'm just trying to understand what the difference would be. We'll see that in a little bit more detail. And then you've got the masks. You've got masks including for painting the wheels as well as the canopy. This is the other thing that slightly irks me with Eduard. They do these canopy masks, and sometimes they're very good generally. Sometimes they're better than others. Sometimes, well, like here, I don't know if you can see, so let me bring you in a bit more. So you're sort of far away there. It's just the outer, which is the most important bit where the framework needs to be, but it means you've got to fill in the middle bit with either Maskol or similar, some sort of masking solution, or you've got to get out your Tamiya tape and start faffing around with that. It's a bit of a pain really. Why can't they just include that so that you don't have to go fretting around trying to find something else? Because it's only like half a mask, you know, it's a little bit strange. Anyway, that's it really, and then you come on to your colour callouts. And I've got to say, this one that's featured on the box here, which is this one, looks really cool with the eagle, the Adler, looking very mean indeed. It's a great scheme, is that? It's strange, it's got a cockerel here. It doesn't quite go with the Adler. So I'm thinking that on that side it's got, it's not, yeah, so it's an eagle on that side it's a cockerel, but it's got the same sort of back to it, which looks kind of weird here. That's a bit strange, isn't it? That's a bit odd. Anyway, cock-a-doodle-doo and all that. whatever floats your boat. And then we've got these other schemes, obviously, and you've got your details about what the decals are, and that's quite nice actually. That desert scheme looks quite good as well. I like that one. Yeah, that'll be something different. I'm just looking to see if any of these is actually Armin Faber's markings. I don't think it is. No, he was probably disgraced after his failure in handing the British a fully working 190. Didn't go down too well, so anyway. Sorry, there's also at the end the stencils, which are all marked out clearly here. And then at the end, this is quite impressive. These are products you can buy. This is typical the Eduard brassing. So I don't want to sound like I'm knocking Eduard, because they do some wonderful products. I'm just not convinced by the kits in their final way they go together. But look at these. You can get these wonderful brassing upgrades. You get an engine, a full cockpit, all sorts of additions to it. The cannons and the cowlings, and these are all extras that you buy with brass resin sets. But they're not cheap, so just be warned. Yeah, you can spend a lot of money on this stuff, and you know, the kit's only £30. You end up spending £100 on bits. But anyway. Right, let's have a look at the parts then. A proper look. This one's been put into a zip bag, I think, for protection. Now, Eduard have a habit of doing this circular sprue normally for their clear parts, which I absolutely loathe, and they always break off, and that's annoying. But this time they've done it properly on a proper sprue, a conventional sprue. So what we're going to do is turn this round, and then we can have a proper look. Bring you in. Here we go. Now then, what have we got? So, now then, what have we got? Yes. So we've got, it's kind of frosted at the back, and then it's clear here. So that's quite clever, because it makes it easy to mask and paint it. And then you've got two clear sections, which I'm not sure what they're for actually. Where do they go? I'm trying to think. The 190. Not a side window, is it? Not quite sure what that's about. Two clear windscreens. Looks really nice actually. Not the clearest, not a little bit distortion, if I'm honest, in the plastic. It's not the absolute, you know, it's not as good as that Rafale we talked about the other day, but it's nice, and they look very well formed and the right shape and all that kind of thing. No problem there. Now then, let's get into the meat and veg, so to speak. What have we got? Here we have the wings and the fuselage. So, oh yes, now this is right. Yeah, here we go. So this is typical Eduard. It's very, very nicely panelled, and the riveting is excellent. Very fine panel lines here. Lots of riveting detail. Very fine, genuinely tiny and accurate rivets. So the way that they've got the character of the panels of the aircraft and all the little lumps and bumps, panels, the access hatches, it's all there. That's really nice. Can't fault it, very fine. But then we're on the wings, and again it's more of the same, isn't it? Here we go. Very, very fine. You've got the cannon bubbles here, all the little hatches, fuel hatches, you've got inspection hatches. It looks very, very nice, very scale-like, really, really good. And on the top wing, again, really, really impressive stuff. It's really, really fine. All the panels you can see. Yeah, that's gorgeous actually, really nice. But then they always are. Sorry if I sound a bit cynical, but I've been once bitten, a bit twice shy with Eduard, I'm afraid. No, I just don't get on with them, I don't know what it is. But you never know, this might be different. Put that back in its bag. Put the bag back over there. And we've got, I think, two more screws. And sorry, I think I need to bring you out so you can see what the heck I'm doing. There we go. Now then. 3 screws in fact, not 2. 3. Okay. 1 on there and 2 over here. Do that one first. Let's have a look. Now then, some good detail. Very, very nice. And this is another thing that Eduard do very well, is they give you lots of options. So here we've got the cowling, the cannons, and we've got 3 different versions. One where it's raised and 2 where it's depressed, interestingly. I'm not quite sure. I think one might be the A8, one's the A4, possibly A6, but there's certainly 3 different versions there. And you've got the gear doors, or covers I should say. Ailerons here, tailplane, and again very fine riveting. It's the sort of detail you'd expect to see in a 32nd kit. You know, they're very, very good in that respect. Always good at giving you a depth and a sort of bigger model feel to them. Swap this around, make it a little bit easier to film. Here we go. There we are. So this is the covers that goes ahead of the cockpit. 3 different versions there too. And then we've got drop tanks, which look really nice. Look at the detail here. Very, very good. Yeah, you can't really fault any of that. That looks really nice. Nice sprue. And then we get into the really fine stuff. That's just the beginning. In fact, this is making, it's got so many small parts, making my eyes get a bit funny. Somewhere in here there's a possible night fighter in the future, because it's got all sorts of aerials on it. I'm sure that's from a night fighter. Radar aerials. We've got the exhausts here. That looks nice. And we've got a plethora of small parts. Now sometimes Eduard can be a little bit flashy, but this one, you know, is really nice. There's no flash at all that I can see. Got your wheels and your tyres. It's really, really good. See that? Very, very nice. And there's a lot of small parts. You've got your cannons here. And then there's another optional smooth tyres and wheels here without tread, which is interesting. So they've got tread at this end. they've got none, smooth. So I think that's maybe for Africa, perhaps on the sand, is it? Not sure which way around it is, but instrument panels are good. They've got good detail. See the switch gear on there, and then there's lots and lots of tiny parts actually. So levers and all manner of different headrests with the armour plate behind the pilot. 3 different options there as well. There's lots of choices within the kit, which is good. Last sprue, here we go. Right, here we've got the Cockpit Tool. It looks a bit basic because of course it's got all this lovely fine detail that we just saw that you actually build on top of it, so it's quite a simple tub and you build it up with all the finesse detail and little switches and panels and levers and things. We've got the main gear, and we've got the front cowling in front of the pilot. Got the spar here for the wing, excuse me, the spinner. And then we've got the rings that go on the nose cowl. That's the front one, that's the one behind it. Then we've got the bulkhead, and then we've got the side, sorry, the underside I should say, underside of the engine cowl. And here we've got the actual propeller itself, which is that nice meaty FW190 prop, which everybody likes. And then over here you can see we've got 3 different gear bay, wheel well bays, and we've got all the different fans that go on the back of the propeller, helps cool the engine. Here they are, 3 different versions with different numbers of blades and different pitches of blades. And then we've got the front of the engine itself there. So, quite a lot of parts, yeah, for a 48th kit, little fighter, because it's not a big model. I think I've got to say that it's it's very impressive to look at, and they usually are. As I say, I don't want to say it's a bad kit. I just don't know because I've not tried to build it yet. But my advice to anybody looking at Eduard is when you see a review like this, you know, I've seen reviewers who are very, very good modellers, some of the best in the country, and they say, oh, it's fantastic, it's brilliant, they are, oh, 10 out of 10. And I sit there and I shake my head thinking, you tell me if it's 10 out of 10 when you built it, please, because this is really one of those kits where you can't quite trust it, I'm afraid, and you're not going to know how much fun you're going to have until you try and start gluing parts together. And you do sometimes find some fairly rudimentary mistakes have been made, so not saying that's the case here, I just can't tell at this stage, but I think we shouldn't prejudge it too much, and at the same time we shouldn't get the bunting out, because it could turn out to be an absolute pick. And I don't know what else to say really. I'm not trying to knock it, I just don't know, but what I'm saying is, with Eduard, you can't judge a book by its cover. With Tamiya, you can see exactly what you're going to get, and it becomes obvious. It's going to build well, it's going to just fall together beautifully. If you do it properly, it'll be a pleasure and easy. Eduard have got more finesse, more detail, but they don't go together as well, and they can be a struggle, and I've had real battles, you know. But anyway, there we go. So I hope you found that interesting. It's a beautiful looking kit. I wouldn't try and put you off it at all, even if it's got the different artwork. To the eye, it looks absolutely stunning, and it's got that depth to it, that finesse. Makes you want to get cracking with the glue, you know, and have some fun. So that's the Eduard FW190 A4. I'd say, based on what I've seen, it's probably an 8 or 9 out of 10 easy. But see how you go. Anyway, I hope you found it interesting. Please, if you enjoyed the video, thought it was interesting, please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. And please watch out for future videos coming, which will hopefully have some more interesting videos for you. And in the meantime, thanks a lot for joining me. Look after yourselves, take care, and thanks a lot, and bye for now.